Hey everybody, I am Big Will, and with me today is, I've only done I think one other stream with him on my channel. It's we've been hard to get together, but this is the Conquistadork Javi. What's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on, Big Will? Yeah, man. I think we tried to get you on Silver Age Sunday, but I know you got things going on during that time. But I do have your box, so
Nice.
whenever we can get together again, I would love to do an unboxing with you, man. That would be great.
All right. Well, what we're doing today is we're going to come up with 10 books that would be good to invest in. 10 comic books that you could invest in. The problem that I see with most of these lists, though, is they're always in 2019 and 2020, or because this movie, or because the MCU, or because the DCEU. But there's a ton of books out there that you can invest in because they're simply a good investment, like Coca-Cola.
Right.
It's a good thing to put your money in. It'll most likely grow. You're probably not going to lose money, and you can just ride it as long as it'll take you.
Right. It's only going to go up
like that, and no one ever seems to have lists for them. So I thought we would come up with 10. And here's how we're going to do this. I don't necessarily have every book. Javi doesn't necessarily have every book. So we can't exactly show them. Like, I don't have it here to pull out, in other words. So I'm going to go to a great resource called mycomicshop.com.
Yes.
And we'll look everything up, discuss it, and then we're going to have on the screen, I'll show you the cover of everything. Because some of these books, they're hard to find. I mean, they're good investments, but they're hard to find. And if you do find them, they're low grade. But we can actually see some good quality covers by looking them up on mycomicshop.com. So before we get started, let's say hello to the chat. We got a few people in here. First in, Southern Comic Geek. What's going on, man? Then we have Mark Spector Comics. He says he is ready for the list. Then we have the Unruly Simeon. And then we got Ruben. He's dropping in. And so far, that's all we got. We might get a few more. So, Javi, what do you say we get started on this list?
Let's do it, man.
All right. We'll go one each until we run out, and then we'll make sure it's 10. Now, the first thing I have on my list is a book that I'm sure everyone's familiar with. Amazing Spider-Man number 129. This is the first appearance of the Punisher.
Classic.
First off, I mean, it's a great cover. You got the Punisher there. You have the reticle here where he's looking down the sights. Spider-Man's in the sights. And then, of course, it has that classic comic book yellow background. And man, just all around, this is a great book. It's also the first appearance of the Jackal, who really turned Spidey's world upside down later because of the Clone Saga, which was just a mess in the comics. But it did give us a lot of things. And for those of you that are thinking about buying this book, now it is expensive, but with patience, extreme focus, and the willing to sacrifice, you can get any book that we have on this list. It may take you a little time, like a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, but you can get any book on this list. And we also have Craig Warner join us and Ben Compton. Let me tell you how much this one's going to cost you. Right now, a 9.0 has an FMV of about $1,700.
Wow.
10 years ago, that was $305. About 20 years ago, roughly, a 9.0 would cost you, I believe, about $150.
Wow.
But as you can see, it keeps going up. It keeps going up.
Right.
Thanks to the MCU, the prices have skyrocketed. So what do you think about this choice as a good quality book that you can always put money in?
Definitely. It's a book that people are always looking after. It's a classic cover. It's a beautiful cover. I mean, you have the Punisher, and Spider-Man on the eyesights of his rifle. But yeah, this book's not going to go down. It's just going to continue going up. And regardless of movies or anything like that, just the comic book alone has the value.
And
But
speaking,
yeah.
and speaking of the movies, we had the one with, I believe, Dolph Lundgren that was horrible.
Right.
Then we had that one with Thomas Jane, I believe it was, that no one really cared about. And I enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't like the Punisher Warzone. It wasn't until Netflix that the character actually got a good representation on screen, but it was still steadily climbing in value through all of that.
Yeah, through all of that, it didn't matter, really. But if we do get a Punisher in this Marvel Entertainment, this Marvel Cinematic Universe, this book is just going to keep on skyrocketing, so that's something to also think about if you're thinking about investment.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say, when you're investing in a comic book, it's okay to pay the FMV,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to go over that. You want to pay the fair market value or get
Right.
a deal, because it may
hit.
drop a little bit, it may gain a little bit, but overall it will increase. However, if you pay above fair market, for example, if it's fair market value 1,700 in a 9.0 and you put $2,000 on it, well, that's just even more time you have to wait just to break even.
I agree with Unruly Simeon. The Barry Jane movie was pretty good. I did dig that movie. Excuse me.
Yeah, I liked it too. Now, Javi, what book am I looking up for you? What do you have first on your list?
Well, I do have all my books in front of me.
You do? Well, in that case, let me get this off the screen and throw them up.
I came up with this list on a whim, like 10 minutes before the stream. But you guys let me know, because I'm not huge into spec. That's one thing that I'll admit to everybody here in the chat. And as a comic book collector, I'm not huge into spec, but that's not really true, because when I do go hunting, if I do see certain books, I will pick them up. One of them being, if I ever see this series, whatever issue number it is, I think it might be a six issue mini. If I ever see an Old Man Logan book out in the wild, I'll go ahead and try and pick it up. These books are, if you can get them in a collection and just preserve them, you'll never know what they can do with this storyline and with this character. There's always people who are, trying to fill up the runs and will pay, double the price just to fill up the run. So it is a good book to just hold on to. And as far as investment, you never know what they'll do with the character like this. You had the Logan movie, but are they going to continue it? Are they going to do something different? Are they going to continue the storyline into maybe another volume? But Old Man Logan, Wolverine series.
All right. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's something that's
a long-term play where
exactly
it ain't worth a whole lot of money right now.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to drop.
Right, and like I said, I'm not into investing, or I'm not into speccing, so I am not going to spend more than $100 for a book or for a set of books. So the things that you will see on my list are going to be what you can say, I guess, more of a affordable type of spec.
Right. Well, the next book I have on my list is Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Of course, yeah.
Now, obviously, the best Spider-Man book to get if you had unlimited funds would be Amazing Fantasy 15, which is his first appearance. But while I still think that is obtainable as long as you have the patience, willing to sacrifice, and focus, you can get it. It's going to take you a while unless you make just a horrible amount of money. That's just insane. But this book, however, Amazing Spider-Man #1, it's actually a lot more affordable. Now, granted, if you want to get a brand spanking new 9.8, you're probably going to pay like $850,000. But the great thing about that is, even though that is the 9.8 price, you drop down to a 4, 3, 2. You're talking between like $3 and maybe $6,000-7,000, and that's actually fairly affordable. And like I said in my title of this, these are 10 comics to invest in where you don't have to worry about spec. You don't have to worry about, a movie or a TV show or, timing or anything. As long as you don't pay above fair market value for this book, I guarantee you, if you wait at least 5 years, you will add probably an extra $200 to $300 or more to what you initially paid. Do you agree with that?
I mean, that book right there is a beautiful Silver Age book. The dawn of one of Marvel's best characters. It is unattainable for me, but if you can make your goal to get that book, more power to you, and go for it. That, add that book to your collection. That is definitely, as far as investing goes, you have to spend money to make money. So yes, that's my advice.
All right. Now, you said you have all of your books. What's your next book?
Okay, so I guess I'll go more Spider-Man themed as well. I have Edge of Spider-Verse #2.
Just so you know, I expected Spider-Man to be heavy on this list.
Edge of Spider-Verse #2, the first appearance of Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy as her incarnation of the Spider character in the Marvel Universe. There are multiple printings that you can get your hands on, and I suggest getting your hands on whichever printing you can, because Spider-Gwen is going to blow up. She is going to be in the animated movie Into the Spider-Verse #2, and she will probably be one of the main characters, and they will probably focus on her. So, the first one was really good. So,
all right. Now, that one I definitely agree with you on. And give me 1 second, and I will change the screen.
Yeah, it's a nice. It's not a book that I read. This is definitely, I say that I am not into spec, but it is a book that I found cheap. This one, double signed, 8.5. I found it for a really good price a couple years ago, before the spike was really happening, and I got my hands on it. And this one is PGX. It's a 9.4.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Javi, but we were never supposed to love the Spider-Gwen character. It just happened, and everyone has fallen in love with it.
Yeah, she's just. They just all these Spider-Verse characters. It was just the creators, the writers, just making new characters so they can fill up this Spider-Man universe, this multiverse, I should say. Yeah, she just blew up. People really, really digged it because it was issue #2, Edge of Spider-Verse issue #2, where issue #1 they introduced another character. So this one was just really, really popular.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Now, the next book that I have is a classic we all know, Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yes, definitely.
Now, this one right here, the X-Men book to get if you don't have to worry about money is X-Men #1. It's the first appearance of the X-Men. That thing is not going down in value. But the next one, in my opinion, the better character, book is this one right here, Giant Size X-Men #1. It's also, excuse me, it's also a first appearance galore and has a few second appearances in there, just like the X-Men #1. But this one you can afford. If you work hard and you do what I'm going to bring this up every time, so get used to it. If you have patience, if you have focus, and you're willing to sacrifice, you get yourself $2,000, you can get a nice copy of this book. And I think a 9.8 is only like 11 or 15,000, something like that. Of course, I say only, but
right.
You know what I mean. But man, this is just a great book to get, and I would get this over 94.
Right.
And I personally would get this over X-Men #1 because unlike X-Men 1, Giant Size X-Men #1 has a lot more room to grow, and you can find a lot more of them in a higher grade at an affordable price than you can X-Men 1 from the early 60s.
I do agree. I do agree. I'm not super familiar with the history of those three books, but I know that X-Men '94 was kind of coveted for a little bit, and then Giant Size X-Men just took off. And this one is definitely, the cover is beautiful. You have all those classic characters on the cover. Colossus just looks awesome. Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and I mean, the jump between those, the 9.8, and then even some of the lower grades, the price difference. I don't know if you've seen that for this book. It's pretty significant.
It's pretty significant, but even the 9.8 is something that if I want to spend a few years working towards, I could get.
Yeah, you could definitely.
The X-Men #1, I believe, is at, or I think over $1 million in a 9.8.
Right, and Marvel is going to do it. We're going to see the X-Men in the movies at some point, and what's going to happen with those X-Men comics? Of course, the fandom is going to grow, and they're going to look after the history for those characters, and that's the comics.
So, what is the next book we have?
Alrighty, I have I guess you can let me know, Will, and everybody in the chat. Maybe the investment and the spec of this book has died off, but I wanted to pull this up and maybe show it, and maybe there's still some value in this book. I have New Mutants 87. First appearance of Cable.
Aha.
And you can also get second printing as well if you want. If you maybe get a little bit of a cheaper option. And Cable, what's up?
Nothing. I was just going to say that's an excellent second printing. Out of all second printings, I like that one. It basically gives you the first printing, but also lets you know without any doubt that it is a different printing.
Right, with the gold background. So I mean, Cable was already introduced in the whole Deadpool universe in the movies. Maybe they'll do something more with him, but I think just as a comic book, just as like a standalone comic book, New Mutants, like the price of this book isn't going to go down. People are always looking after this.
The price of that book actually went up recently. A 9.8 of New Mutants 87 is now valued at about $400, which is very, very affordable. And,
no way.
Yeah, and the near mint 9.8 copy of X-Men 266, the first Gambit, actually used to be $400, and it dropped. It's $350. So that New Mutants 87 is now worth more than the Gambit. I just happen to know that because I sent one of each off to CGC.
Nice. And I guess this could be like a duo, but if you can get your hands on a Cable Deadpool #1. that's also like a affordable kind of spec in the lower price range as well.
Then another thing I wanted to do is I picked a specific book, and I'm about to show that when I share my screen. But I wanted to say that so I picked a specific book, but I actually am talking about a generalization of books. The war cover. Any war cover from World War II, from 19, technically we were only in from 41 to 45, but you could say any war depiction cover from 38 to 45 during the actual war is just an excellent investment, because first off, censorship and the way I'm going to say little pansies about things nowadays. You can't have swastikas on anything, even if you're making note that these are the bad guys.
Right.
And you just don't have covers like that anymore. Like, for example, the book I picked, while there are hundreds of examples, this is The Fighting Yank number 10. Just look at that cover there.
Wow.
Everyone knows Captain America number 1 and Superman and Batman. They all have covers that everyone remembers. So does Wonder Woman and a lot of the classic characters. But The Fighting Yank has excellent covers. This one, he's busting in kind of like Cap. He's not punching Hitler, but there's a whole bunch of Nazis in there. He's just beating the crap out of them. It's an excellent type of cover. Schomburg, I think I'm saying that right, is famous for his World War II covers. And if you get one of his, they're very valuable compared to the rest. This book actually, believe it or not, you can get a copy of it for under $10,000. I believe the last time I checked, you can get a copy of this issue, which happens to be number 10, for under $2,000. And my books, they're in the thousands. That's expensive, but they're not so expensive that they're unobtainable. And this one is a very obtainable compared to some of the other covers, like Captain America number 1, World War II cover.
What issue number is that?
That issue number specifically is number 10. And The Fighting Yank has a lot of good ones. Let me show you. The Fighting Yank number 7.
Yeah, that is Schomburg. Wow.
Yeah, Fighting Yank number 7 is my favorite, and I'll show you that one. Okay. Well, needs to load. There we go. That is my favorite Fighting Yank cover. And that one is even cheaper than the other one. But you can see how in the excuse me. You need my mouse. First off, we got Hitler special right here, a bomb. Fighting Yanks dropping it on this Nazi house right here. There's planes fighting him. But if you notice here, they're actually telling you to buy war bonds and such. There in the bottom corner. Yeah. It's just an amazing cover, man.
What? Buy war bonds and stamps for victories.
Yep. So war covers is an excellent choice, I think, for a comic book investment. Specifically, I chose those 2 books to show you, but there's some, like Captain Midnight is an example of some World War II covers that are a lot cheaper, less than $1,000. And then, of course, you have the super mega expensive ones. But just a war cover from the time period is a great choice, I believe.
That is definitely a good point. And you'll even see some of those books with one staple. I heard that Hialeah was telling me a story how he came across a Captain America from the Golden Age, and it had one staple because they were, I guess, rationing the metal because of the war.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff about them that are unique, and the war bonds, the war stamps, they're only during that time period. And some of them are very artsy, like the stamps and the bonds. They're very artsy, and it's just really cool. So what do you have as your next book?
What I have as my next book is
now, I know you said you were running one short, right?
I pulled out. I have.
I got a backup if you're one short.
No, I got enough.
Okay. Well, what's your next one?
I mean, I don't know, man. This may. I mean, you might need to pull out your backup. I don't know. I'm
Well, how about I
always.
pull out my backup anyway? We'll have a bonus
Yeah,
11
yeah,
book.
a bonus one. A bonus one.
What you got?
Birds of Prey movies just coming out again. I'm not researching the market as other comic book collectors do, so I'm not sure what some of these books are going for anymore. But I decided to pull out a Suicide Squad #1 with Harley Quinn on the cover, the New 52 run. This is the first printing. The second printing I think has a red background on it, but I don't know if this book has gone up or down, but I do think that it's a nice book to pick up and to possibly invest on. Harley Quinn as a character is going nowhere. She's always going to be popular, and she's always going to, kind of be, and now she's going to be more in the mainstream than before, So Suicide Squad #1.
I don't know if I would invest in it necessarily, but that's
Right.
not a bad book. And it does still have its value. It hadn't took a nosedive or anything. And, a lot of the people who weren't aware of Harley Quinn or the Suicide Squad, thanks to the movie, they now know about it. And then, of course, we're going to have at least 2 more movies where the Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad adjacent characters are going to be on the big screen. And whether they do good or bad doesn't matter. That's going to put that book out on people's radar.
Yeah.
And you can't take that back once it's out there. So that's not a bad book. That's still a good book to get.
Yeah, but it's more on the affordable side, as I was saying,
Yeah, you might spend $20 on it at the most.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
But most likely you'll probably spend somewhere between 5 and 10, and that's okay. That's still a good book because the cover on it's what, like $2, $3?
I think it was a $2.99. Yeah, back in the New 52 era.
So $3. So if it's $5 or $10, that's still a huge gain. But yeah, I think that's a fine book.
What you got, Big Will?
All right. Next book up is kind of like what I had said before. I said war cover and I chose Fighting Yank. Well, this one is the same kind of thing. I'm going with PreCode Horror. Any PreCode Horror book is an excellent book to invest in so long as you don't pay above fair market value. And the one I specifically chose is this one right here. This is Crime Suspense Stories #20.
Nice.
Now, #22 is the famous one where it's the decapitation cover, but this one's also a great pick. It's literally a hanging. A man's being hung on a cover, and this was for children. That's awesome. I mean, and these books are only in the early 50s for the most part, and that's it. So there's not that many of them. Collectors love to collect these. There are certain people that I know in YouTube and on Instagram where all they do is PreCode Horror. It's a niche, but it's a huge niche.
Right.
And all these books, we're losing them every day. There's not that many of them to begin with. They tend to go up in value and they don't go down. I think I priced this one in a mid-grade at like $1,000 or so. I'm not sure. I forgot to grab my paper where I wrote the prices down, but it's a great buy. And I know if you buy any of them that show something truly horrific, like this man is dead, he is hung, that's a valuable one. There's one where a woman's being choked, and I'm talking just this particular series, Crime Suspense Stories. There are many other books and titles, but just in that one series, you have that one. You have the other one I mentioned where the woman is being held underwater and strangled to death. You have one where a man opens up a freezer and instead of meat, it's full of dead bodies. There's another one, the most famous one, issue 22, where a man has decapitated a woman's head and you see it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, these things can be intense, man.
No, yeah, there's the Wolverine homage with I think it's the one with the person being decapitated.
Yeah, it is an homage to issue 22 of Crime Suspense Stories. Wolverine did it to Sabretooth, but in the book, it was a man, you don't see his head, and he decapitates a woman. And Unruly Simeon, I'm going to say it again. If you have patience, extreme focus, and you're willing to sacrifice, you can buy that book in less than a year and in a mid-grade condition. I guarantee. Now, you might say, well, Will, how come you don't have your Hulk 180 or 181 that you love so much? I don't feel like putting forth the effort, and I don't want to extreme focus right now. But I know as soon as I am able and wish to do those things, I'll get it, and I'll unbox it for you when I do. So what's your next book, Javi? This, I believe, is your...
Yes, my last book. My last book is I have Rick and Morty #1, first printing. This book has a fair market value anywhere between $75 to probably $180, depending on the grade. You'll see 9/8, being double that, a little bit more than that. It's a very hard to find book. It's a rare book, and it's a goofy book, but it's worth getting your hands on if you can, because the price of this book is only going to go up. The popularity of the show is going to always be there, and just the rarity of this book alone will drive the price up.
That book I don't understand. I mean, I've seen an episode or two of the cartoon. It was funny, but I don't understand why people go so crazy for the book. I mean, I guess it's just one of those things that I just don't get.
I don't get it either. There's a 9/8 that sold white pages for $950 on a bid on eBay, and that was January 24th. They're, it's pretty crazy if you're telling me.
Yeah. Woo. I mean, but that book's been going on for what, 4 years now?
A raw Rick and Morty #1 comic, first printing, $500 sold.
What year did that come out?
This came
like how
out,
old is the book?
The book itself came out when season 2 is finished. So around that time period. I'm gonna check.
When is that?
2015 the book came out. So 2015, so it's been about
5 years.
Yeah, about 5 years.
But I have always said that an investment is something you hold for 5 years or more, or you plan to hold for 5 years or more. So I, as a general rule, unless it's a quick flip, I don't like buying things that I want to buy and hold unless it's under like $20, unless it's 5 years old or more. So that book would just now fit into that.
Yeah.
That book. And another reason why you wait 5 years is you'll know, for example, Naomi, people at one point were paying almost $1,000 for it, and now it's worth what? Under 300?
Right.
9.8.
Yeah.
In a 5 year time period, the up and downs, you pretty much now know what the book is worth in general, and it'll either slightly go up or slightly go down. It'll pretty much stay where it's at. So that's another reason why I like to wait 5 years. Yeah, that book would.
Good point. Good advice, of course, for anybody that's trying to get some knowledge in investing as well.
Yeah. And the bonus 11th book, our final book, is, I think, Man, this is good. This is a great book to pick. Incredible Hulk #1.
Oh yeah.
Now, why is this a great book? Well, first off, first appearance, multiple first appearances, but the main one is Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. It is the first Gray Hulk. The issue 2 is when he finally goes to green for the first time, and then we don't get Gray Hulk again until the 80s. So not only it's got that first appearance, it's a Silver Age Marvel book, early Silver Age, and it's also rare compared to the others. This one was, out of all the big ones, FF, Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, and the X-Men, this one had the least amount of printings, and it only lasted 6 issues before it was canceled and the Hulk moved to a different book.
Mm-hmm.
And then after years, from I think 63 to 68, until then, he was in a book that didn't have his own name. And then at 102, Incredible Hulk in 1968, they started it again, and then it's been going ever since, basically. But this book is awesome. And believe it or not, I think it's 1.2, or it may actually be a solid $2 million in a 9.8, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it is expensive.
Wow.
But the 0.5, the 1, up to about a 3.0, I think, you're fairly reasonable in price, and you can still get one of these if you, saying it again, have patience, are willing to sacrifice, and have focus. Now, as for me personally, it's not a book I really want to go after, but there are a few people like Jeffrey Comic-Con Henson who this is his final Grail book. He will probably manage to get a 181 at some point, and then this one will probably wind up being the last book he gets. I bet you money. Yeah, this is an excellent book, in my opinion, and it ain't going down. It's only going up. What do you think?
I agree. I agree, especially now with the whole Immortal Hulk hype. This book is now being sought out more than ever, and you know, Hulk 181 is just gaining more and more and more popularity, and everything is just tying together for this one book. And like you said, it's one of those harder to find Silver Age #1s. So
now someone had just said, I dang sure can't afford that. So let me just back up here, go to my Go Collect, and why don't we see what an Incredible Hulk #1 would cost you?
Let's see it.
All right. So Incredible Hulk #1. Okay, it's 1.9 million and a 9.8. We don't care about a 9.8. Look at this. You can go up to a 3.0 and you're paying under $10,000. Last sale was $8,400.
Wow.
That's still affordable. I mean, it's expensive. Don't get me wrong. It might take you a year or 2 years to save that money up. And of course, don't always just assume you have to save money. You can sell some books, trade up, do things like that to help you get it too. But just saving money in 2 years, the average American can save that money and get them a 3.0 or lower, however they want to go, grade of this book. If, well, I want to say it together, they have focus, patience, and are willing to sacrifice.
That's right. So the 3 golden rules of the 3 golden assets of investing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our 11 books
bonus.
that we have for you today. Yeah. In the description, I have that I'm going to do with the boy who had 7, but I don't know what happened to him. He said he was going to be here, but something must have come up. But thank you, Javi, for coming. I always invite 2 people if someone cancels on me, just in case.
Yeah, you have a backup. Backup to the backup.
This was awesome that you were able to come by.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
And Steve Whiten, he has none of those golden rules. But anyway, thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you, Javi, for doing this with me. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if people like this. Thank you, Javi. I appreciate that. And I guess we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, have a great night, everybody, and thank you, Big Will.